Now, into the ticket office of Disneyland.
Oh boy, let's do this. Don't think the CIA is going to be trying to hack your second-gen iPod.
I didn't think so. There might have been a lot of illegal music on there. I wouldn't doubt it. But, I mean...
You were supposed to bring death to the flagships, not join them.
Google has found a new way to piss me off.
iTunes is a constant source of embarrassment.
Every time I say it, it's going to suck even more.
May I present to you the cat?
I am Medela. I can't do it anymore without laughing. I was going to do the whole thing. Welcome, everyone, to the Calling All Platforms podcast. I am your host, Wes, and I'm here with Landon.
Hello.
And Caleb.
Woo!
and we are here to talk all things tech. I was not expecting that, to be honest. You got me. You got me.
Excited.
You got me. Well, he's so excited. Let's get into it, shall we? We have some Apple news here. Got the Apple's iPhone event. Why don't you go ahead and let's talk about that?
Oh, man. The listener, so you may have heard sometime the past week and a half about, well, I guess by the time you're listening to this, 2 weeks, about Apple scheduling an iPhone event for, the beginning of September. Second week of September is when Apple typically does their iPhone event, so nobody's surprised about this. For months, we have been expecting Apple's iPhone event to happen on September 10th because Apple typically does it. It's the second week of September. It's usually the second Tuesday of September. This is just basic pattern following, listener.
Yes.
We're pretty good at that around these parts. However, we have mentioned several times over the past few months the unfortunate industry rule that exists in tech that all of these big product announcement events from major companies like Microsoft and Google and Apple have to happen the day after we record the podcast during the week. This is an actual industry rule. And as proof of that, a couple of weeks ago, you may have noticed, listener, we mentioned it, I think, once. We switched from recording the podcast on Monday evenings to recording it on Sunday evenings. It is a Sunday evening right now as we record this. Like literally a week after we did that, Apple announced the date and time for the iPhone event, which is called It's Glowtime, which I hate that name, but okay, here we go, Apple, good work. It's the 9th. It's not Tuesday, it's Monday. Literally the day after we are scheduled to record the podcast. They had to pull it forward a day from what they usually would do because it is a literal industry rule that these events happen the day after we record, not just later in the week, literally the day after. So, in case you were wondering how much pull we have on the tech industry, it's shockingly kind of a lot, evidently.
At least when it comes to events, not when it comes to actually what gets put into hardware.
Right, exactly. Yeah. No, the timing of events, that's the only thing we can affect. But gosh darn it, I'll take what I can get. Anyways, listener, so we may have to, I don't know, ditch Wes and record on Monday night next week just so that we can try and sneak it past them. Though now that I've said that, actually on the podcast, Apple is going to hear it and they're going to reschedule it for Tuesday. They're calling it right now. Anyways, it's Glowtime. We're expecting this event to be new iPhones, Apple Watches, and probably some new AirPods. If we're really lucky, new AirPods Maxes. That'd be great. Get the lightning port off of that thing. It needs to just get the lightning port off of it.
It's almost to the point that the AirPod Maxes are basically the same thing as the HomePod. It's a one-off, It's like, oh, look at this amazing technology that we put into these headphones. And nobody bought them because they're so expensive and stupid.
Yeah. I mean, the technology isn't even all that amazing.
That's true.
It's good, but build quality is great. But we've gotten to the point now where Dyson is literally selling headphones that are a parody of the AirPods Max. So that's weird. Anyways, point is, that's the lineup we're not expecting a new SE iPhone, just the non-SE iPhones. And that means that I am already kind of bored by this event that hasn't even happened yet. So that bodes well for next week, listener. But
Yes.
we will either in next week's episode, because we have, grabbed fate by the horns and steered it where we wanted to go. You will be hearing about this next week. And if we didn't successfully do that, you'll be hearing about it the week after, because frickin' tech, man.
Yep.
I just love it. Like the timing was so perfect. Everyone for months, literal months, you can go onto Mac Rumors, go back several months. They'll be like, hey, there's an article. We're expecting the iPhone event to be on September 10th because that's the second Tuesday in September. And that's just how this usually goes.
I mean, honestly, you could go back a year. If somebody was writing about this year's Apple iPhone event last year, they were going to say it's most likely going to be on September 10th.
Yep. That's just how pattern recognition works. Nobody, there weren't even any like leakers that were suggesting, ooh, it's going to be the 9th instead of the 10th. Nobody was really paying attention to that. Nobody was saying anything about it. And then we changed the night we record from a Monday to a Sunday. And literally that week, it was like 2 days later, Apple's like, hey, it's going to be on Monday. Oh,
yeah.
Okay. Good times. Anyways, yes, it's Glowtime. It's coming, listener. That's that. That's that.
Okay. Also, do we want to put Glowtime as bad tech name, even though it's not technically a tech name, but it's an event name?
Oh, actually, you know what? Maybe I ought to nominate this for like the worst keynote of the year, just for that name.
Just for the name.
That's
there
valid.
you go.
Yeah.
Everything like the iPhones could be great. The event is fantastic, but the name makes it the worst.
Just for that name. No,
Yeah.
it's up there. That is among the worst names Apple has ever given to their keynotes. And Apple gives unique names to pretty much all of their keynotes for the past like 5 years, which is wild and strange and kind of makes me feel like their marketing department is too big. Like they had people to spare to workshop names for an iPhone introduction event. Couldn't they have just said, hey, it's our fall event? Well, I guess maybe not actually, given my next item of news. But hey, it's our iPhone event. Does it have to have a unique name every year? Anyways.
I mean, they've just gone to the complete opposite side of Samsung because all of Samsung events are unpacked.
That's true.
Yep.
That's true. Yep. Yeah.
Glowtime. Jeez.
Oh,
Well,
man.
why don't you go into the next item of news there?
This one's actually kind of good news, listener, and the reason why we're not expecting Apple to be able to call this their fall event is because we're expecting another event from Apple this fall. We are, according to Mark Gurman, expecting M4-powered Macs to be coming in November, which is cool.
Yes.
And I will note that along with this, he did have some details about the Mac that I most care about from this update, which is the Mac Mini, which is rumored to feature a new design and, unfortunately, no USB-A ports. They will be taking the USB-A ports off of the Mac Mini. However, they're going to be replacing them with 5 USB-C ports. Now, to be clear, that isn't it, like, they're replacing 2 USB-A ports with 3 USB-C ports for the base model because there are already 2 USB-C ports on the Mac Mini, so those are already there. But if it is true and it has 5 USB-C ports on the base model, that will be an increase of 1 USB port overall, and they'll all be USB-C. Whether or not they'll all be Thunderbolt capable, remains to be seen. I suspect that what we'll probably see is 5 ports on the base model. 2 of them will be Thunderbolt, and 3 of them will just be USB 3.1.
Which is fine.
And then on the Pro model, you'll have probably all of them Thunderbolt, or maybe 4 of them Thunderbolt and 1 USB 3.1. Something like that. That's kind of what I'm expecting. So that's fine. I think maybe the best part of this is that with the chassis redesign the Mac Mini is getting, the rumor is that 2 of them are going to be on the front of the computer instead of on the back. So you can plug stuff into the front of your computer. What? Who does that? That's just insane. I don't think anybody in the history of computing has ever done this before. So, like, big news, listener.
Hey now. Apple has done
Big
this. The Mac Studio has ports on the front.
That's true. The Mac Studio has ports on the front. Oh, man, the Mac Pro has ports on the front.
That's the first one to have ports on the front in a while, like consumer product anyways, to have stuff on the front in a while.
Yeah, the Mac Pro has ports on the front. I still think my favorite thing, like, ever was my very first Mac, listener, was a Quicksilver PowerPC G4, right? So if you are familiar with Apple's older computers, then you probably do know this thing. Honestly, for my personal take, one of the prettiest desktop towers ever made by a mass-produced computer company. It looks so good, and have the party trick of, like, if you open up the side of it, it's a hinged panel that folds down and lays flat on the desk, which sounds really inconvenient until you realize that it brings the entire computer with it, with the exception of the power supply. Everything is attached to that panel. It just lays down and you can just work on it right there, as long as you've got the desk space to actually open the thing up. So it's a really cool computer case. Loved the crap out of that thing. There were a few niggles that were a little bit difficult to get over when I first started it, because this was my first Mac. I was not familiar with the operating system or the tropes that Apple was using in their product design or anything like that. It took me genuinely 40 minutes to figure out how to eject the DVD tray on that thing. Because I got it home, I'm looking at the front of the thing, and I'm all like, there's no button for the, man, does it not? I could have sworn it had a DVD drive in it. And there's this little, like, silver door, and I kind of, like, put my fingernail behind it and pull down, and it's hinged. And there's a tray right there. Like, I can see it. I'm like, oh, okay. But there's no button here. I'm looking around. I looked on the back of the computer, the side of the computer, literally turned it off, opened it up, looked inside. There's a DVD drive. I could see it, but I just had no idea how to open the dang thing until I finally booted the thing up, went into the help documents in the operating system and searched for DVD drive. And it's all like, hey, if you're having trouble ejecting your DVD drive, because for some reason the eject button on the keyboard isn't working, try this. And I'm like, eject button on the keyboard? Oh, it was a key on the keyboard. I'd never seen that before. Never seen anybody else do that. But yeah, that was 40 minutes of my life got eaten up with that. And the first time I booted the thing up, I didn't know how to shut it down. I had to ask another dude at the computer store where I bought it. I'm like, do you want to turn this off? And he's like, oh yeah, it's in here. So yeah, okay, I figured that out. It had an exposed speaker on the front of the computer tower, which it was actually, for a chassis speaker, remarkably good quality. Big, moved a lot of air, actually good bass response, but it was exposed. You could just stick your finger in and poke the driver, which, if for longevity's sake, that's not great. If you've got kids, they're just gonna break that immediately. So that was weird.
I mean, to be fair, that was a style back then for speakers. Strangely enough,
it was.
Whoever designed those speakers back in the day was not an audio person at all.
Well, actually, they were, but they were not an audio person with children. That's for sure. Because it was Harman Kardon that designed those, actually. So Harman Kardon, they knew, especially back then, they were big names in the audio industry, and the speakers that they made for Apple products back then were quite good. But they're also, Harman Kardon was known for high-end bookshelf speakers, the kinds of things that executives put in their offices and that sort of thing, not that professionals put on their desk where anyone can get to it. So yeah, but yeah, there were no ports on the front of the tower either. In order to access ports on this, you had to, I guess they just expected you to use the USB ports that were built into the keyboard, which the keyboard also, the cord on that thing was like 1.5 feet long.
Yeah.
It was so short because they wanted you to plug it into the back of the monitor, which was, there were so many weird things about this computer. But anyways, yeah, USB ports on the front of the Mac Mini would be great. I'd love that. So I'm actually kind of looking forward to this redesign. And I'm looking forward to, hopefully, starting price of about $500 would be great to see. And regardless, I'm looking forward to just new Macs in November. That's always a good time. Fun to see what they're doing with that. So we'll get through the iPhone event, listener, together. And then in November, good things will happen. That's what I'm hoping.
We're sticking to it. Was it off of Bruce Almighty? Well, that's the way the cookie crumbles, right? All right, let's go ahead and let's move on to some Google news. We got Pixel 9 reviews going on.
Yeah, so listener, the Pixel 9 has come out, and people have been having them for a couple weeks now. At least reviewers have had them for a couple weeks now. And I, like Caleb about the iPhone event, was not really expecting a whole lot of great things to come from these phones. We knew all the specs and whatnot that were there before the event happened, but I was just not really expecting a whole lot. I was like, okay, another Pixel phone. It'll probably be good, but I'm not, nothing's probably going to blow me away, or these aren't going to be, they're just another phone. Well, I was very wrong about that. Apparently, these phones are absolutely fantastic. All three of the main phones, the Fold I can't say it's bad. I haven't seen a lot of reviews for the Fold yet. Most people have just been doing the regular 9 and the Pro, not the 9 Pro and Pro XL and stuff. But the main phones have all gotten extremely good reviews from pretty much everybody that's used them. And it's to the point that I've actually very much am considering buying one. The biggest downside to that for me is I'm not only buying a new phone, I'd have to be buying a new watch, because Apple does not let the Apple Watch work with other phones. And it's an unfortunate thing. I mean, I kind of have been wanting a new watch anyways, but if I got a Pixel 9, I would have to get a new watch because, yeah.
Or is that the excuse you're going to tell your wife? I have to buy a new watch. Like, I just have to.
I mean, I have already explained this, and she's like, right.
But no, seriously, listen.
Listen here. Yes, no. I mean, even like all the AI stuff on the phones has gotten, most of the AI stuff on the phones have gotten really good reviews. Like all the on-device stuff is really good. Even like Gemini Live, most people have been impressed with it. Like, obviously, you can make it go off the rails and be crazy, which you can do with any AI stuff at the moment. But for just your typical, the reasons Google, like the examples they gave and what most people are going to be using it for, if they use it at all, works really well because, again, it is all on device. It's not going to the cloud, so it's quick and it's mostly accurate when it's talking about your own stuff that you're trying to utilize. Like it's on device, and because it's Google, it's so integrated with Android on the Pixel phones. If you let it have access to certain things, it works really well if you're using these Google apps and whatnot. And so all the AI stuff has been really good. The one AI feature that some people are like, why, is Pixel Studio, because generative AI art has always been that way. Everybody's like, why do we really need this? And I get it. It's one of those things like, why? It's more of a toy still. I mean, AI in general is kind of a toy, but that specifically is definitely a toy. It's just something to play around with. It's nothing that should ever be taken seriously. The biggest downside to what Google's doing here is they don't put like a watermark or anything like that. So you can just share this stuff on there, especially like the reimagined photo stuff, which again is just a toy, but you could share that photo And if you don't tag it as being AI when you share it, people may not realize that it is and just think that it's real, which, I mean, most of the time, if you're really paying attention, you can tell that it's AI. But I really wish that they would do something like that, not just in the metadata, because nobody is going to check the metadata to see if it's AI. Good idea in theory, Google. Bad idea in practice. Like, it should have a watermark or something saying made with Pixel Studio or made with something like that. But other than that, like you said, Pixel 9s have been really good so far. Like, even the biggest thing people talk about is the battery life on these phones is phenomenal. Like, people are getting 5 or 6 hours of screen on time a day and still ending the day with 30 to 40% of battery left. Especially like the Pro XL with the bigger battery. They're getting really, really good battery life on these phones. So like I said, I'm very seriously considering switching to, like, I had in my head, like, yeah, I might want to switch back to a Pixel phone, but I kind of thought, well, I'll just wait till the 10 because that's when Google is going to be switching from Samsung made chips to TSMC, which I kind of trust a little more. And I mean, not that these new Tensor chips on these phones honestly aren't that much better. Like, these are the Tensor 4, I believe. They're honestly not that much better than the Tensor 3, but because what Google has done on the software side of things and the additional more RAM on the phones has made a massive difference in the performance of this chip, which is impressive in and of itself. That just doing those things has made only a slightly better chip seem like a much better upgrade than it actually is. So, like I said, I was almost basically just writing off this phone in general because I'm like, well, I'll wait to see what the TSMC chips can do versus the Samsung made ones. But everything else about this phone is like, okay, maybe. So Apple, if you're listening,
the time
you really need to impress me because
they won't.
I know.
Come on. But we already know what this phone is going to be. It's not going to be impressive.
It's true.
It's just going to be like, hey, remember last year's Pro? Well, now the normal one is like that, and the Pro is slightly better.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair,
you want one?
To be fair, any of these phones are going to be a significant upgrade for me because I am on a 13. So,
yeah,
screen-wise, it's going to be better. Camera-wise, it's going to be better. Software-wise, it's going to be better. Like, just in general, it's going to be better. But how much better is the question? Because right now, going from my phone to the Pixel 8 or my phone to the iPhone 15 is not a significant upgrade. It's an upgrade, but neither of those were anything massive. Pixel 9 is a pretty decent upgrade so far from all the reviews I've read. But who knows about the new iPhone? We'll see next week. Now, all that being said, all that great stuff about the Pixel 9. Oh, Google, I'm just going to say this. Stop being dumb. Okay, now I got to explain.
No.
I know they're not, especially when you hear reasoning. So the Pixel 9 phones, another thing that I absolutely love about my phone, iPhone 13, a 3-year-old phone, is MagSafe.
Yeah.
Now, the Qi wireless people, like the people that are in charge of what the Qi protocol or standard and all that stuff is, worked with Apple in early 2023. Well, they worked with them in 2022, but announced in 2023, like January or February of 2023, that the Qi 2 standard is basically what Apple did on the iPhone 13 with MagSafe. Now, it's a little bit better than that because the charging speeds are a little faster, but it has the magnetic array there that it'll work with any MagSafe accessory will work with Qi 2. And so, okay, when that was announced, we were like, oh, great. Now Android phones will be able to utilize all of these cool MagSafe accessories that have come out for the iPhone. Well, That hasn't happened. And like I said, that was beginning of 2023. So we gave a pass to Samsung that year because obviously their phones were announced. The S23 phones were announced before this was, or around the same time. That's fine.
Yeah.
And then the Samsung foldable phones, probably too late in the cycle to really get it.
Yeah.
Didn't have it. Pixel 8, the same reasons. Okay. Yes, it's near the end of the year, but it's what hardware-wise, those phones were probably set in stone slightly before the Qi 2 standard was announced. Okay, you get a pass on that one. Then January 2024 rolls around. Samsung S24. No Qi 2 standard. That's odd, but okay, Samsung, that, whatever. Then a month, 2 months ago, or it's July. Wow, goodness. Anyways, the new Samsung folding phones come around. No Qi 2. That's awfully odd, Why would that? Anyways, well, for sure, Google Pixel 9. It's been over a year and a half. They're going to have it. No, none of these Pixel 9 phones have Qi 2. And so everyone's like, why the heck not? Like, it doesn't make any sense. Why would they not have the Qi 2 standard? And so Android Authority actually reached out to Google and asked this question. It's like, why do you not have Qi 2 on the Pixel phones? Oh, man, I really hate that I have to read this. So the reason that they gave, this is kind of a paraphrased answer, but on the article it says, Google said that the older Qi protocol was more readily available on the market and that there are no tangible benefits to switching to Qi 2.
Okay. Except for all of the accessories that accessory makers make for Apple devices, which are objectively better than the accessories they make for Android devices, because they know that Apple people pay good money. Like, Google, what?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Even if it's just to tie in to the Apple accessory ecosystem, that's a good reason. That's a really good reason.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Like, Google,
what?
I mean, I have right in, like, just myself, an iPhone 13 Pro Max. This is a 3-year-old device, has MagSafe. So there has been, this was the first device with MagSafe on it.
I think it was the 12, actually.
What? Was it?
I think the 12 had MagSafe. Because, yeah, my 12 mini, I'm like 90% confident my 12 mini had MagSafe. I could double check.
Either way, you have at least 3, potentially 4 years of a head start of MagSafe accessories. And like Caleb said, companies make accessories for the iPhone because they know they will sell these accessories. So MagSafe stuff, even right after it was announced, there were stuff ready to go. And then it just blew up from there. And like, I have a MagSafe charger from Apple because it works great. I have a MagSafe mount in my truck for my phone because it works great. I have multiple cases that have MagSafe so I can use those accessories. And then I also have a little, it's not a pop socket, but type stand thing that snaps onto the back of my case with MagSafe. And I can also charge through that because of how it's made. MagSafe is fantastic. It's one of my favorite features about this iPhone. And the fact that Google says there are no tangible benefits to switching to Qi 2 and that Qi protocol is more readily available. Okay, yes, there are more Qi chargers, but they will also work with the Qi 2 standard. And then, okay, after this article was originally posted, they did get an update with another statement from Google. And they explained both the Pixel 9 and Pixel 9 Pro work with Qi 1 and Qi 2 chargers. Yes, they will. The chargers will still work. Correct.
Yeah.
For wireless charging, but Pixel 9 and Pixel 9 Pro do not have magnets built in for magnetic attachment. Obviously.
Yes.
But like,
that's the problem.
And they also mentioned, like, if you really want, like I said, Google points out that they can always use their phone with a case that includes magnets. You're right.
That's true.
That's what Android users have had to do. And because it's so popular, because Android users have been asking for this, companies do make Pixel cases, Samsung cases, Motorola cases with the MagSafe magnets built into them because everybody wants it. Why would you not put this in your phone and be like,
yeah.
And like,
I mean, it's like, even from the perspective of like, not even the Apple ecosystem of because, you know, when Apple does something, like makes a change that causes a whole new branch of accessories to pop up, everybody jumps on board, including, especially since the Qi 2 announcement, a whole bunch of unlicensed, unauthorized knockoffs. But the fact that there's no licensing to be compatible with MagSafe is the reason why it was able to be added to Qi 2. And that has meant that the accessories are cheaper and so ridiculously available. Like, none of the magnetic accessories that we have for phones in my house are actually like, they're not Apple device or Apple products. They're not licensed by Apple to use the MagSafe moniker. And so they just say Qi. They're Qi wireless stuff. We've got a knockoff MagSafe charger. It's the same shape, it's the same size, but it's just a Qi 2 charger because, you know, they didn't pay Apple a licensing fee to call it MagSafe.
Right.
But it's 100% compatible. And you know what's great about that? I don't know, listener, if you've ever tried to align a phone, especially with a cheap wireless charger, it's hit or miss.
Yeah.
And if you don't hit it exactly right, then the charging speed is going to suffer if it charges at all.
Exactly.
But this thing, it just pops exactly into the right position every time you bring it even close to the thing. It's super cool. I have, like, you know, both me and my wife have iPhone minis. The 13 mini, it's okay for battery life, you know, does all right. The 12 mini famously had issues with battery life, even when it was brand new, especially now that it's 4 years old, because that device is 4 years old. So yeah, battery is a thing that matters. You know what you can get? $20 battery packs that just smack onto the back of this thing, connect via magnets. You push a button, it starts charging. It makes the phone thicker and heavier, sure, but it's not much more inconvenient than just like carrying the phone around. And it's a good way for a small amount of money to extend the range of your battery and still be able to, you know, take it off your phone and use your phone like normal. And these are things that were just cheap crap that,
yeah,
like, none of this was expensive Apple branded nonsense or anything like that. This is just stuff that's available on the market because MagSafe is a thing. And Google, like, yes, the cases are a good solution for your customers that you have left hanging. Why did you leave them hanging?
Yeah.
What was the point of that?
I don't
like,
get
that's
it.
the big question.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, yes, you're right. They can buy a case that will make their phone compatible with all of these accessories we're talking about. That's true. That's absolutely true. Why didn't you just build it into the phone, though?
Yeah. For the people that don't want a case, you know?
Yep.
They don't get MagSafe capability because you didn't want to put... That's so stupid. And, like, this article, it's funny because the very next thing after they say that, they have multiple pictures. Here's tangible benefit number 1. A couple phones with a pop socket, MagSafe pop socket. Tangible benefit number 2, one of those battery things. Tangible benefit number 3 is one of those camera, like, it basically gives you a camera shutter button and adds extra features to the camera via MagSafe.
Yep.
The next one, a tripod mount. And then he's like, need I go on? Because there's so many more options. And it's true. Like, you can get a wallet accessory that magnets to the back of your phone, a tripod accessory. Like, you can get bike mounts for this that have MagSafe. And like my phone, like I said, I've got a little, I can't remember. I think it's called the Snap-on or Snap It or something. Like, I can't remember what the brand is. It's like a little snap magnet thing that I can use as a stand or like hold it. It's kind of like a pop socket, but I like it a lot better because it's smaller. But it has, like, it magnets onto my phone, and then it has its own magnets built in. I can pop this onto something like a metal wall, like a fridge, or like at my work, I can put it on the machine, and it just snaps onto the freaking wall. And I can leave it there and do stuff, or just like have it so I can watch something if I'm doing, it's fantastic. Yeah. But Google doesn't think that's a benefit, I guess.
What a statement. What a statement.
I genuinely do not. That would be the one, other than the watch, that is a reason I would not buy the Pixel 9. Because I have accessories enough that I really like and utilize on a very regular basis, pretty much a daily, if not every couple hour basis, that I would not be able to utilize as well because it's not built into the phone. And that is annoying. And I mean,
you do put a case on your phone. So you can get around it. I don't put a case on my phone. So that is kind of a deal breaker for the Pixel for me.
Yeah.
Guys, come on.
I just do not understand the reason. That's the dumbest reason amazing. I do not understand. I don't even know. There's not on my mind, there's not really a good reason, but that is probably the worst reason you could possibly give.
There's no tangible benefits to it. I mean, aside from all of them, I don't
it would be one thing if MagSafe, this type of technology started with the Qi people putting it in, and then maybe down the road Apple implementing it. But the fact that Apple started it is the reason to follow along, and they made it they're being nice and allowing people to use the exact same setup that they have. They're not if you want to call it MagSafe, you have to pay them a small fee,
right? But for the name,
but don't you just call it Qi 2? You don't have to do that, and then you're fine, and you still get all the same benefits. And again, because Apple did it first, all the accessory makers have something that is MagSafe because it's on the iPhone.
Hey, Google, another tangible benefit for you. You can use the back of your phone to find out if your existing cookware is compatible with induction cooktops. Come on.
There you go.
It's right there.
Awesome. Anyways, rant over.
Right.
Google,
that's a pretty good one, buddy. That was really good.
Man. All right. These type of rants generally don't come from me. They come from Caleb. But when it's this dumb, it's coming from literally everyone. I'm sorry.
Then Google. Everyone can get on the fun. Yeah.
Woohoo. Well, let's go ahead and move forward, shall we? We actually have a little bit of Microsoft news I wanted to slightly mention.
No.
Do you leave that? It's not just I guess this is a feature.
It's a rare beast.
I don't know what we'd call this. Anyway, so I'm going to give the headline here. Microsoft lets Windows 11 users uninstall Recall. For now, in preview.
I was going to say, Recall was only available in beta, wasn't it?
Yeah, so it was going to be only on the Copilot Plus PC, if you remember.
Yep.
So there's the latest preview version for Windows 11, version 24H2. People had started seeing that when you go to your Windows feature control panel, that you could see, and you'd scroll to where it says Recall. It's enabled by default, but to uninstall it, you have to uncheck mark it. It's not an uninstall button. You have to uncheck mark it.
Just the fact that this is enabled by default is also a big red flag.
Yeah. This is why I'm mentioning this. I felt that this needs to be mentioned. So,
yeah.
And this wasn't, and what's interesting is some of this is on PCs that are not the Snapdragon X based Copilot PCs.
Just Microsoft, what are you doing with this?
I honestly don't think they know what they're doing.
They don't. They really don't. Oh, you know what it is? They're having the opposite problem of Google development teams, where you have a whole bunch of different development teams that can't talk to each other because they're all on different messaging platforms. At Microsoft, they have a bunch of different development teams that are all on the same messaging platform, but it's teams. So it
So
doesn't
they're not
work
getting
half
the
the time, and they
message.
still
That's
can't
what it
talk
is.
to each other. That's what's happening here. Just Microsoft. Look, guys, just switch to Slack or Discord or something.
Yeah.
Come on.
It works. Yeah, so I felt like I wanted to mention this because, one, hey, it does look like, if you aren't trusting of the software giant and their recall AI, there may be options to uninstall. But just know that it does show that it's on by default. And it's very possible, just because these are on PCs that are not the Copilot PCs, these are actual other PCs that have Windows 11 previews on it, that it's showing this up. So you might want to just double check,
How
make sure
bizarre.
that's, yeah. So that's why I wanted to mention this one, because usually it's not a, hey, we're adding File Manager to Windows 11, which should have already been there, or something silly like that. No, this I feel is security issues, and we want to make sure you can do that. So, are you okay there, Caleb? You're really.
Well, I just had. You just mentioned adding File Manager to Windows 11, which, yes, haha, funny hyperbole and joke. But then I was thinking, when they announced Windows 11, I'm pretty sure they said that they were going to make File Explorer tabbed, like the ability to open up separate tabs in a single File Explorer window so that you could go through. That's totally not there.
Nope.
How many years ago did they announce Windows 11? I'm sorry, Microsoft. What?
Yep.
Like, Mac OS has had this since Lion, I think.
Been a while.
Maybe Mountain Lion. It's been a long time. And Mac OS was late to the game. Linux has had this since 2004. It's a 20-year-old feature for every other major OS.
Exactly.
Microsoft.
Yeah.
Come on now.
So that's why I was saying it's not one of those features. This is a quote unquote recall feature that you can now uncheck mark. So it's not checked by default. So just keep an eye out. So if you're not interested in having this recall, it could be there. And also, if you don't have one of those Copilot PCs, it looks like this could still be enabled by default, and which means it could still have some of those. Just uncheck mark it was what I'm saying. just uncheck mark that thing in the control panel is what it was saying. So that was what I wanted to mention for Microsoft. So we're gonna move on to General Tech, unless anyone has any other puns or things they want to say at Microsoft.
Just to be safe, even if you're not on Windows 11 preview of some sort, just search on your computer for recall and make sure that it's not there, just to be safe.
Fair.
Because you never know with Windows. You just never know.
Seriously.
Yeah.
Especially Windows 11.
Yeah. Okay. General Tech. AMD apparently benchmarked 9000 series in admin mode.
Oh, yeah. So, listener, you remember when we talked about how the 9000 series of Ryzen processors had launched and the performance was kind of lackluster, and that the only way that anyone was able to get even close to AMD's reported benchmark numbers was by running the benchmarks in Windows admin mode, which is the thing that you absolutely should not do, running your computer in admin mode all the time, because it opens you up to all kinds of security vulnerabilities. Turns out that's exactly what AMD did.
Well, that's the only way they could say that it's better than their previous version of the hardware.
Pretty much. They released a statement a couple of weeks ago and said that, yes, we had, in fact, run our benchmarks in admin mode.
Oh my god.
That's how you're supposed to run them if you want to see these performance uplifts. And everyone was like, are you high? I don't... What? So they did say that a future Windows update, in fact, 24H2, will fix their stupid broken promises. And if you are not, if you're not in the Windows preview program and you can't currently download 24H2, the 23H2 update that is available now, you can get the changes made to that version to enable the performance that you are missing on your Ryzen 9000 series processor by downloading an optional update in Windows that is currently available right now. So you can get this to match their benchmarks, at least more closely. But wow, AMD, That's like, the saying, oh, they've got egg on their face. And I'm like, this isn't egg on their face. This is, we all just kind of woke up for a moment and realized that their head is an egg. And somebody punched it and it exploded in eggy goodness. And we're like, wow, turns out that's not just Intel. So good times, great times, lovely times. Like we have had a few official statements from big tech companies here in the past few weeks that are just bafflingly stupid. Like Google, there's no tangible benefits to G2. And over here, AMD is like, well, yes, we did benchmark our processors in Windows admin mode. Don't you run in admin mode all the time? What is going on?
Apparently this year we need to add a category of dumbest company of the year.
Yeah.
Just in general.
Dumbest official statement made by a major tech company.
That was better.
I don't know. Oh, man.
Statement.
These are pretty... There's some good ones here.
I was going to say, that might be a longer list than anything we have.
Yeah.
Jeez. All right. We'll move to the next topic here. The Anandtech has shut down.
Yes, not Anandtech, Anandtech, which is different. Anandtech makes cases and fans and stuff like that. Anandtech is a tech journalism website that was founded by, I can't remember his last name. Anand was his first name. He's
I can't remember
like Iranian or something like that. I can't remember his last name, and I feel kind of dumb for that. He actually left the publication a couple of years ago to go work for Apple, in fact, on their chip development team. And I think that the fact that the founder of this tech journalism site went to Apple to design processors is probably a pretty good indication of the kind of tech journalism you could expect from Anandtech. Anandtech was one of the publications that you would expect to sit down and really dive into the root functionality of the tech that was being introduced to people. Like, they weren't like, okay, here's a new processor from AMD. It gives you, plus 20% FPS in these games or something like that, which is what most tech reviewers are capable of doing. They can run benchmarks. They can tell you what the relative performance is between processors. And that's fine for the most part. But Anandtech was focused on like, okay, here's a new processor from AMD. Let's look at the core layout. Let's look at how the cache relates to the core layout. Let's look at the efficiencies and inefficiencies inherent in the architecture of the processor itself. Let's look at how they've designed their I/O chip or their I/O block and how they're connecting to RAM and stuff like that. They would really get into it and write these lengthy, incredibly detailed breakdowns of technology that were just like, I read a few of them for products that directly interested me, when I was doing research for, computer upgrades and that kind of thing. And I would come up against like, I've got two things here that are basically the same price and by the quote unquote benchmark numbers are basically the same speed. How do I pick between these two things? Then you would turn to someplace like Anandtech and you would read these incredible breakdowns of these processors, of these technologies, and you'd be able to get into details of like, well, that's why this thing is slightly more efficient and is probably going to last longer due to heat loads or something like that. Or, hey, that's why this guy over here is going to be easier to cool with an air tower because of the way the die layout is relates to the surface area of the IHS and that kind of thing. Great stuff. And they've been shut down because, let's be honest, most people don't have the attention span in this day and age to read a big old breakdown like that is multiple pages long. It's one of the few websites I've ever seen where you go to look at a review for a product and there's a table of contents at the top that has multiple chapters, and each of those chapters is a separate page, and each page has like 7,000 words on it.
Yeah.
It's like a scholarly article written about these things. Incredible detail, an incredible resource to have available to us. And yes, they've been shut down. I mean, their readership has been declining for years and years and years. Like I said, Anand left several years ago. The team that he left behind continued to do this work. Like, he had a good team that stayed on, kept doing this. Dr. Ian Cutress is another name you may have heard, that he worked for Anandtech and was responsible for a lot of the low-level breakdown of processors, both GPUs and CPUs, and just microarchitecture in general. Very intelligent dude, very well versed in all of these technologies and the manufacturing processes behind them as well. He has a video that was posted to the Tech Potato channel on YouTube that goes into a little bit more detail behind the closing of Anandtech. Some of the writers for Anandtech have been moved over to Tom's Hardware, which is owned by the same publishing company that was running Anandtech before. So it's not like they're necessarily going away. And Tom's Hardware is another of the sites that does this sort of deep breakdown of things. Yeah. So maybe they're just trying to consolidate to be more efficient for, the money. But woof, this is a huge loss for games, or for technology journalism as a whole, when we're not getting these frankly very brilliant and intelligent writers that are willing to go to these lengths to give us all of the dirty laundry that tech companies would rather hide. And instead we have stuff like Mr. Mobile making 45-second TikTok videos about, oh, hey, here's a new phone, and millions of people buy it just because he held it up. And does he know anything about that phone? I'm not saying Mr. Mobile is not a smart dude, but probably not. He probably has had it for like 5 minutes, and he knows this, like, what the software experience is from kind of a base user level. And maybe that's fine for some people, but I really, really like being able to get more into depth on things than that. So I'm kind of sad, is the takeaway here.
Gotcha. No, that is sad. Sorry to hear that closed down.
Yeah. So.
All right. We're going to go ahead and move on to some gaming news here. First on the docket here, we got an Xbox August update. With this update was mostly...
You can uncheck recall from it.
You can uncheck... You got me there. That was pretty good.
Listener, Landon said that while I was taking a drink, and I feel like that was rude. Just about choked on that. Holy cow.
That was pretty good. No, but you know what? Just in case, will you double check in your settings on your Xbox and just uncheck it? Just if you're on some sort of preview program and they haven't blocked your IP because you downloaded their software on their hardware, I could go on a rant for that. We're not. Xbox August update. This is out now. You can take a look. Basically, it's bringing new Discord calling and streaming features that the Microsoft insiders have been testing. Before, it was you could just join a Discord channel with the voice. Now you can actually watch people's streams. So if they're streaming to there, you can bring up their streams. You can directly call them on the Xbox. And now they actually have the Discord and the Xbox party kind of together, meaning when you go to the one, it'll tell you who's on the Discord as well as who's on their Xbox. So they're kind of making things a little better and easier for you to find your friends on there. So it's not too separate. They're trying to bring it all together, which I double checked. It actually is pretty cool. You can hop in and it'll actually say, hey, in this Discord channel, you've got this is what's happening and going on. This person's streaming, and you can just just from there, I can just connect. So nice, easy things for that. I guess in other little things that they brought with the update, they actually did extend more Xbox Cloud Gaming availability to 2 new Amazon Fire Stick devices. It's the first gen Fire Stick TV, the 4K Max, and the 3rd gen Fire TV Cube. So, yep, I don't know what the Cube was, but yep, there's Cube. I kind of
forget how many Fire Stick, like Fire TV devices are out there.
Yeah.
I don't think Amazon
the Cube existed. I didn't know there was a 3rd generation of it. Like, what? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, so those are the main features that came out with on there. I did actually skip something. Another feature was actually you can now download certain pieces of a game that you choose. So, for example, Call of Duty, at the very beginning, you can say, I only want to download the single player, or I only want to download the multiplayer, or whatever. And they're starting to do this not only on the Xbox itself, but they're also doing it on the Xbox app for PCs. So you can do the same thing there, which is awesome.
Good.
That is awesome.
So stop using so much gosh darn space.
Yes.
COD.
So obviously Call of Duty is the big one that they're touting for this, because they not only do they own it, not only do they want to promote it, but they also is the big red herring to be like, hey, the new Call of Duty's coming out. Looks like I got to wipe my hard drive just to have the one game on there.
Yep.
So,
I mean, it's wild. You think back to the very first Call of Duty, fit on a DVD.
Yeah.
That's less than 4 gigs, listener. Less than 4.
So, yep. Those features are available. I double checked actually today on my Xbox, and it updated already, and it's on there. I didn't try out the Discord to see if I could watch someone stream, but I did see the party things together with Discord and that to see who was on and whatnot. So I don't have an Amazon Fire Stick, so I can't double check that, and I don't own a Samsung TV to double check the cloud stuff either. So I apologize. But all right, moving on to the next topic here. The Stop Killing Games initiative has gained meaningful traction in the EU, and it turns out this is complicated.
Yeah. So, listener, this has been kind of going for a while. Stop Killing Games. You might have heard about this. This was an initiative that was started kind of like a movement / petition type thing online. I can't remember the name of the guy who started it or even what his handle on YouTube is. But basically, this happened after Ubisoft shut down the servers for The Crew, which a lot of people were super upset about because The Crew was an entirely online game, and that meant that you could no longer play it if you had bought it. Which, I'm slightly annoyed by, because I actually do own The Crew, and I never once played it. I got it for free, so I don't know if that really matters to me all that much, but, it's the principle of the thing. I never even got to try it. So, yeah. This was a thing that people did not like. Gamers did not like this happening. People are upset that, essentially, they were being told that, no, the money you had paid for this game was not you owning the game. It was you renting the game or licensing a copy of the game or something like that. And that's true. It's true for a lot of online games. This is a thing this is not the first time this has happened. This is just one of the times that it has happened. And people were super upset about it. This initiative got kicked up kind of in the aftermath of that. And it's basically just a demand to game developers that if you are going to have online components of the game, then you need to, when you decide you're going to shut down your official servers, you need to do something to enable the community to continue playing the game. The initiative itself specifically calls out making the server web code available to the community so that they can run their own dedicated servers of the game to continue playing. Right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's pretty much what the initiative is asking for, is just make it so that your community can take and make their own servers in the aftermath of the thing. So I am of two minds about this. Well, okay. The follow-up to that is that more detail before I give you my opinion, but it's coming. Rest assured. So the Stop Killing Games initiative managed to actually get enough attention online that the European Union floated the thing for, I can't remember what they call it, but it's basically just like an officially recognized initiative that they're going to send out to citizens of the EU. They can go online and vote for or against it to basically just say, we're interested in this thing being addressed. It's kind of to gauge how many people think it's a problem. And if enough people think it's a problem, then the European Union is going to look at it. They're going to see if this is something that needs to have some legislative, stuff put in place about it, or something that needs to be regulated by some committee somewhere. They'll look at it. And so it got to that point. And at that point, it managed to get a public statement out of, I can't remember his last name, Thor. He goes by Thor. I think Thor might be his middle name. And from Pirate Software on Twitch and YouTube, who is like, people called Steve from Gamers Nexus Tech Jesus because he's got like the hair and the beard and he's tech. Thor is kind of Game Jesus minus the beard. Doesn't have beard, but he's got glorious hair, and he's a game developer and professional hacker. Literally has several black badges from DEF CON. And he is probably, I don't know, in the gaming sphere specifically. So not just tech at large, but specifically gaming, and in particular anything to do with hacking, but gaming as well. He tends to be one of the most level-headed voices on the internet about big things related to this stuff. He takes a very measured approach to things, maybe why he's such a good hacker. And his statement with relation to this was that in general, the Stop Killing Games initiative is actually super problematic, and that if like the founders of the initiative would like to see happen, the European Union legislates that this initiative gets exactly what it's asking for, it is going to kill all online multiplayer games, like basically period. That was kind of his take. His argument was, maybe not surprising from somebody who, in addition to being a game dev, is also a hacker, that it opens up too much possibility for bad actors to deliberately force the game developer into a point of non-profitability such that they will shut down their servers, so that the hackers will have free access to the web code for those servers that they can then use to set up their own servers and charge community members for access to them. Because paid servers for games is a thing that exists in the world. Minecraft is actually a pretty good example of this because, they have official ones. They're called realms. You pay for access to an official server of the game. And you can also join private servers of the game. Some of those have very dedicated mods and very full-time staff that maintain the server, and they are all paid positions, so you have to pay to be a member of this private server. This is a business model that exists for Minecraft because Minecraft as a game existed as basically open source before it was ever bought by Mojang and Microsoft and turned into the behemoth that it is today. So that expectation has always been there, that they'll have access to the server code for Minecraft so that they can set up their own dedicated servers. Microsoft has that, like their official ones with Realms, but there are private ones as well. And he was basically saying that, if somebody, a bad actor, wanted to make more money off of a private server that you have to pay to access, they can get the developer to shut down all of the official servers by basically DDoSing them until it's impossible to play the game on them. And then the developer can't make money off of them, and they have no choice but to shut it down. And then the web code becomes available. The hackers are then able to take it, set up their own private servers, charge for access. And he's like, this just encourages a lot of bad behavior from communities. So, okay, that is a completely valid perspective and issue that I had not personally ever considered before.
Yeah,
Fair
seriously.
play. Shortly after that, a significantly less level-headed voice on the internet with regards to tech, Louis Rossmann, who, to be clear, listener, I'm not saying that I think Louis Rossmann is a bad person, or that Louis Rossmann is not saying a whole lot of very good things, particularly as relates to right to repair. That's kind of his wheelhouse, and he has made many, 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 many good arguments in favor of that. So yeah, sure. Louis Rossmann responded to Thor's video about this and was basically like, you're terrible. Like, this is horrible. No, like, this isn't a real concern. And it was kind of a more hot-headed response. I don't want to say it was completely, like, off the cuff, but Louis Rossmann tends to be a little bit more hot-headed. So that's sort of where the drama has led to. Now, for my own part, so here's where we get to my opinion. I had not considered Thor's point at all, that something like this would cause bad actors to do things like that. And I don't think that you would see it all the time. But I do think that in extremely popular games with a very large community, it absolutely could happen. And then you wouldn't get the development you want on the game, right? Like, a very active, large community that's supporting an online game for a very long time means that the developer is going to pour development resources into adding to the game in order to keep this large community engaged with it. And that's, as a member of the community, what you want to happen. You don't want the servers to just exist statically in perpetuity. You want the developer to continue adding things to this game that you're enjoying, right? Like, for my part, that's what I would want. And yeah, like, those big games, there's a lot of money to be made there. Those are the ones that would attract bad actors. There's a game that I play called Overload. Listener, if you go to Calling All Platforms Gaming on YouTube, you can look up my review of Overload. It is honestly one of my favorite games of all time, but pretty niche game, didn't get a ton of traction. Very small player base, very small community associated with it. The entire game was funded via a Kickstarter, which was successful in funding. The developer developed the game and released it, but they were not able to sell enough units after that fact to stay in business. And so they shut down. And when they shut down, they did release the web code for the game to the community. The community took the web code, set up their own servers, and, some of them are really good, really reliable. Some of them not so much, but that is kind of the beauty of just letting the players have the code. They can do whatever they want with it. The community also got together and developed a mod to the game that made it so that it would work with these private servers, essentially, better, and released that on, it's available via their Discord. You can go and you can patch the game with this mod, and you can still play multiplayer matches of Overload because the developer released this web code and the community took it and ran with it. And that's great. That's a great example of what I think the Stop Killing Games initiative wants to happen. They want these communities to continue to be able to have these games after the fact, not acknowledging that, yes, this game is no longer profitable to the developer, and the developers should 100% be able to step away from it if they want to, if they need to. And that's fine. But just give what you have to the community so that if the community is, in fact, dedicated enough, they can keep it going without you. That's a great sentiment. But I do think that with especially large communities, forcing the developers to do that could, in fact, cause major issues, because it will attract some not good people to do bad things that are going to damage the community and the game itself, and possibly prevent you from getting a lot of cool things that would have been added to the game later on. So, what is... I don't know. I'm a big fan of finding the middle ground between two valid arguments, because I feel like that's where, you get the best outcomes. How do we solve this? I don't know. Like, as a perspective of somebody who paid $40 for Overwatch, and then Overwatch just doesn't exist anymore, and what do I have to show for it? A few skins, I suppose? You know, that's not, I don't know, that doesn't feel great, right? In Overwatch 2. But what would it have made sense to force Blizzard to release the server code for Overwatch? Especially with the understanding that that would probably kill Overwatch 2? Like, that just doesn't seem fair to the developer.
No.
You know? So maybe that isn't the solution to that. Thor did have the suggestion that probably online game developers should not be selling their games. Like, they should not advertise this as, hey, buy our game. They should advertise it as, hey, license our game. If you'd like to play our game, you can pay for a license to play our game. And he also made the argument that, like, if you look at something like World of Warcraft, which, you know, people have been paying, maybe not even World of Warcraft, like StarCraft. If you were, you know, playing multiplayer StarCraft and you were botting or cheating or something, in fact, this applied to Diablo 2, I think, as well, you could get banned for life from this game that you paid cash money for, like possibly in a physical retail store as well. And World of Warcraft, it was the same thing. These people who were paying for the game, if they cheated, if they botted, whatever, violated the terms that Blizzard had outlined for playing this online multiplayer game, they were banned. Which effectively was like, hey, guess what? This game you paid for, you don't have it anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Sure, you still have a disc. Sure, you still have an install. It's gone. You're not allowed. You know? So it's not like this is a new thing, a new concept. And, you know, players of World of Warcraft have acknowledged for a very long time that they were essentially just licensing the game. And if we had developers saying things like, hey, you are purchasing a license to this game that is subject to these terms, if they said that up front, gamers might be a little bit less upset when the game is gone. I think, personally, that yes, that's a good change. I would love to see developers do that. Just be upfront with it. Like, Blizzard, you're going to release Overwatch, just tell me this is a license to the game Overwatch, and that this license is subject to termination based on these things, and if one of those things might be we release a sequel that we just replace this game with, then the game is going to cease to exist. Okay, I guess, like, then I know. Then I can make an informed decision about buying this game or paying money for a license for this game. I do also think that, you know, like I have said before, that I would love for developers when they release these online games to have some kind of a roadmap for what end of life looks like for the game from the beginning, just so that players know, like, hey, when this comes to an end, it's going to just vanish, you know, like it'll just disappear. You're not going to be able to play it anymore. Or these are the things that we anticipate you'll be able to keep doing after we shut down the servers and the game is EOL'd. Like, maybe they say right there, we will release the server code for any, you know, for the community to use once we stop supporting it officially. Or they could just say, you know, we're building in this single player mode right here that we will activate once the game is no longer supported. I don't, you know, something like that. Just tell us what the end of life for the game looks like and put some thought into it when you start making the game so that you don't have to completely re-architect the game at the end. I feel like that would make everybody happier. I don't know. It's a very complicated issue. There's a lot of good points on both sides, but I have heard a lot of people saying that stuff like, oh, the Stop Killing Games initiative is just an automatic win for consumers everywhere. It's fair to say that anything that significantly damages the developers of the games you love playing is going to damage you as a consumer, because you won't be able to play those games anymore because the developers are gone. So it's more complicated than that. And I think that there's a lot more conversation that needs to happen before anything concrete is decided here. So that's that. The big old Stop Killing Games drama. It's cooled down a little bit over the past week. And it does look like there's probably enough names on it that the EU is going to probably look into it and investigate some more. Hopefully they do have some conversations with actual game developers in addition to the players of those games, because everybody needs to be considered in this conversation. And I don't know that that has happened to this point. So there you go.
Yeah. See, that's my issues here is like the EU does a lot of good things, a lot of things in the idea of it being good for the consumer. Sometimes it is, sometimes the thought behind it is. And then it's the way
Yes.
that they go about doing it that is obviously not good for the consumer. And that's what has me worried here. I mean, as someone, this is most likely not going to affect. I don't think that regulation, at least in the way that the Stop Killing Games initiative wants it to happen, I don't think that's the right way to go about it. And in general, I don't think this really needs to be regulated by a government. In my opinion, again, as someone that this isn't going to affect most likely, what I think should happen, and I could see potentially happening down the road, because developers are not going to want this to be regulated, for one. So they're going to potentially fix it themselves, hopefully before regulation happens, and hopefully that would stop the regulation. At least that would be their idea of it. But what I would like to see happen is, if you have if you want someone to pay, like a one-time buy now, you get the game type thing, you need to have an offline mode available. It has to be there. Yeah. And if you want a multiplayer online mode, that's fine. But if you're asking your customer to pay this price and you get the game, there has to be some sort of downloadable offline mode. And if you want to have an only online multiplayer type game, it should not be a buy once, get the game type thing. It more or less, I mean, I don't like this option, but it is most likely going to happen where it's a subscription. You pay $5 a month or whatever to be able to play the game. You can stop at any time if you don't want to play the game anymore, but then you don't have access to it. And that's the thing. Like, if it's only multiplayer online, that's how it has to be. And if you want a buy now, get the game, it has to have an offline mode. That's how I think it should happen.
I think that possibly the biggest, the hardest thing to solve, because like I feel like that's a good stance to take right there. Like, if you want me to pay physical money for your game to purchase the game, there needs to be something about it that is tangible for me on just my gaming device.
Yeah.
You know? Apple Arcade, for all of its flaws, actually does that pretty well. It's at a point where, like, if all games were designed like the games in Apple Arcade, then you would buy it. There's an online component to the vast majority of those games, but they also have to have some of the game playable offline. Like, that's a requirement in order to be on Apple Arcade. And so it's basically like, hey, you've got all this online stuff, but if they stop supporting the game, it's like, hey, sorry, all this online stuff just doesn't work anymore. The rest of the game still works. Like, you can totally still play all the offline stuff. That's fine. But the online stuff doesn't work. Okay, no, that's totally fine. Can totally work with that. If you're paying for a subscription for a product, and then that product just, they stop making it, and the subscription charges stop, okay, that's how subscriptions end. You know, like, that's how subscriptions work. Nobody's surprised there. I think the one thing that is going to cause issues is free-to-play games that take microtransactions for stuff like battle passes and cosmetics inside of the game, because the little children who are buying those microtransactions, I can't. Okay, it's a bunch of little kids that are paying a tiny amount of money across millions and millions of little kids in order to, you know, buy these things. And then there's also some whales out there that are paying a lot of money, each of them individually, for everything that the game has to offer. And those people, I don't understand those people.
Yeah.
But, you know, the kids don't understand the money that they're spending is going to something that isn't real. They don't own it. It's just they're licensing a picture that they can put on a 3D model in a game that could vanish tomorrow, right? Like, Epic Games goes belly up for, I don't know, Tim Sweeney just has a brain fart and cancels the company or something like that. Fortnite ceases to exist. All of this stuff that you spent money for also ceases to exist. That's just how that works. And I don't know how you get around that. Like, I think that just saying in the shop, you're not buying anything here. This is a license to a picture.
Yeah.
Maybe that solves the problem. But I don't know. It's complicated. It's not as simple as just stop killing games.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot that goes into that. And how do you define killing a game? Because the simple fact of the matter is, oh no, they killed the crew. There's a sequel to that. It's called The Crew 2. It's the same thing. It's an online open world driving game kind of thing. You can still play that. That's still live, still supported. So did they kill the crew? Kind of not, actually. They just want you to upgrade. Buy the new one. You know? So I don't know. It's a complicated issue.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean,
probably we're not going to solve it tonight here on this podcast, listener. I know that's what you were hoping for, but you know,
I don't. If I were to add anything, I don't. I mean, you two pretty much said anything I would have thought of, honestly. But yeah, this is a complicated issue, and if there's anything more, we'll definitely report on it.
Yep.
So, okay, we're gonna move on. We got Age of Mythology Retold. This one's from Caleb. He loves this game.
Yeah, I'm just, it's here because there was a, Gamescom or something or other happened, and there's a bunch of games and trailers and stuff came out. I didn't really care about the vast majority of it, but there was a trailer for Age of Mythology Retold, which is the remaster of Age of Mythology, and is coming out in, as of recording, like 3 days. So of all the games I have put significant amounts of time into in my life, listener, Age of Mythology is either number 1 or number 2 for the most amount of time I have spent in it. It's between that and Diablo 2. I'm not sure which one is higher because thankfully I didn't have like game launchers and stuff keeping track of my total hours played for those games back when I was a teenager. And, for both of them, it's in the thousands of hours, I would guess. But it's a game I've spent a lot of time in. I hope that this is a worthwhile remaster. It will be launching on Game Pass, so I will be able to find out without having to pay any actual money for it. But if it is a good remaster, then I will probably be paying for it on Steam because I just want to do that and be like, hey, make a sequel. Frickin' They made an Age of Mythology 4, which, to be clear, is basically just Age of Mythology 3, except we're hoping profitable this time. And I feel like Age of Empires 4. Age of Empires 4, Age of Empires 3, except profitable this time. I'm hoping that this does well enough that they look at it and go, yeah, second Age of Mythology. That'd be cool. Evidently, they do have a couple of expansions planned for it already that are going to be adding a new civilization and additional pantheon of gods as well. They were saying a Chinese pantheon, which is cool because I learned a lot about the mythologies of, Vikings and Egyptians and Greeks by playing this game. So it would be cool to add some additional mythologies to that I could learn. That'd be fun. Also, the trailer was great. They showed a shot of Arcantos, which seems to suggest that, yes, they have in fact remastered the campaign as well, which is good. It's a good campaign. Really enjoy it. They also showed footage of the laser bears. So the cheat codes are intact, and I love that. Nothing beats like early 2000s strategy game cheat codes in gaming. They were the best. Oh, Canada, laser bears. Loved those things. The flying purple hippos with top hats that rained hearts of death down upon enemy units. Age of Mythology, man.
I remember
So
it was
good.
Age of Empires 3. The cheat code was for a monster truck to come in and just run over people's stuff and people.
Yeah. Yeah, Age of Empires, it was cars. They really liked cars in Age of Empires because the first one you could have the car that rapid fired bazookas, or the car that like did a slow fire of like a nuclear missile. So that was the option. And then there was the Shelby Cobra in Age of Empires 2 that shot catapult rocks out of the headlights. Yeah, great stuff. Great stuff. Ensemble Studios in the early 2000s, mid 2000s, like their cheat codes were just so great. Anyways, so I'm looking forward to this game. I hope it's good.
That's awesome. You know,
I'll follow up.
Side note, I can't remember. Speaking of cheat codes, it just brought this up. I can't remember if I talked about my time with the new release of Doom and Doom 2. Did I mention that to you guys? I can't remember for the life of me.
I don't think so.
Okay, so real fast, because this is funny. I just thought it was hilarious. So they're talking about this new release of Doom and Doom 2 being pretty much like the port, like source, like full on.
Right.
This is it on everything. And so I've been messing on it. That's a game that I'm like, you know what? I love getting all the little achievements on Doom and Doom 2. So I've been going around playing it on hardest difficulty, obviously not Nightmare or anything. And I was going through playing. I was having a hard time with this one thing. I was like, I just need some ammo. Man, it would be nice if I could just type in a cheat code. I'm on controller on my Xbox, right? And I'm sitting here because I remember those cheat codes like they were. Yeah, it's just what I know. And then I thought to myself in that moment, I'm like, they did say you could plug a keyboard into the Xbox.
Yep.
So I grabbed my keyboard from the back of my computer and I just plugged it into the Xbox. And Doom is running. And I'm like, I just typed in IDKFA. Got it. And then I was like, no way. And then IDDQD got the God mode and all guns. And I'm like, oh my gosh. It is because normally on other ports, the cheats would actually be like on the menu list. Like, hey, if you turn this cheat on, you know, it'll suspend achievements. You know, you can mess with the cheats and this. But no, they didn't have that. I was like, I wonder. I did. I typed it on the keyboard, came right up. I was like, oh my gosh, no way.
Yeah.
So
man, that always bugged the crap out of me in StarCraft. Is that like, you know, I'm playing through the campaign of StarCraft. Some of those levels are really boring. Like,
yeah.
But it's a fun story. Like it's a story that I want. So I want to play through the campaign. I don't want to play through every single level. So I use cheats. But if you did that and then it just branded you a cheater in the score screen at the end of the level and you couldn't score anything for the rest of the campaign. I was just like, that's so freaking dumb. Like, come on, StarCraft. It's a single player campaign. Nobody cares. And I really appreciated that Age of Empires never did that. It never shamed me for using cheat codes. And that was very kind of them.
I remember Warcraft 2's. It was for getting your money was glittering prizes.
Oh, yeah. And what was it was the autocomplete level for StarCraft was it just cow level? Or there is a cow level or there's no cow level?
It was something like that. Yeah.
I think it was there is no cow level. And then Diablo 2 came out with a cow level. and that was such a great joke.
It's awesome. Yeah, no, friggin' cheat codes.
See, that even makes me nostalgic just because, like, I love these embedded cheat codes like that because it does make the game more fun. And it's one of those things that you kind of have to know about it. But my favorite, or what it reminds me of, is way back in the day with the original NES, there was a device that you had to purchase and put the game into. It's called a Game Genie.
Yeah,
and you had to have that and in order to unlock any of these cheats. And once you had that Game Genie, like you turn the game on, it opens up a completely different menu and you can select which cheats you want to use and whatever game. And not all games had it, obviously, but the ones that did, it was fantastic. And it just made the game that much more interesting. And sometimes easier, yes, but still more interesting, more fun. It was just great. It was fantastic.
Yeah.
So built-in cheats like this are always a fun, good thing to have, in my opinion.
Oh,
Agreed.
man. Well, and that kind of reminds me. So, like, when I was a kid, we had an Atari ST computer, and there were a bunch of awesome games made for the Atari ST back in the day. But we were playing it significantly after the Atari ST was popular, like a decade later. My brother went online and found found a group called the Pompeii Pirates, who had who had cracked a bunch of games for the Atari ST and made versions of them that you could, they'd have discs that would have 4 or 5 different games on them, depending on the size of the game. And all of these games were cracked to include cheats like infinite lives or infinite ammo and stuff like that. And these fun, super quirky menu screens for all of them, usually with a custom piece of music that had been written for it. It was a whole thing. Like, game piracy back in the day was a culture. Like, it was wild. And so he downloaded a bunch of these and put them on floppy disks, and we would slap them into the Atari and we would play them. Had so much fun. Dozens of these games. I get to be an adult and I'm like, oh, nostalgia hit. I want to go play the Blues Brothers, game from the Atari. So I download an Atari ST emulator. There is one. It's great. I go and find an official copy of the Blues Brothers game for Atari. I start playing it, die instantly. It's so much harder than I remember. I'm like, why is this so much harder? I'm like, oh, right. I only ever played the Pompeii Pirates version that had infinite lives. So I had to go find the Pompeii Pirates version of it online.
That's funny.
Oh, man. Oh, good old cheats in games. It's just, and now cheats are called microtransactions, and it's just less fun.
Yeah.
True. Gaming. It's definitely evolved. All right, we're going to move on here to a segment, one of our favorite segments.
Yes, now it's time to talk about how Doom modders are the best people. This one's actually kind of hard, listener, because it's not necessarily Doom modders as much as it is AI researchers. However, they did do something pretty incredible with Doom. AI researchers have created an AI image generation model based on Stable Diffusion that will hallucinate Doom for you in just about real time as well. So what that means is they can get the game to, based on inputs that you give it, which I think are still like text based, but they're, working on it. It will just auto generate frames of Doom based off of just having a whole bunch of training data fed to it of frames of Doom. And so you play the game and there's no actual code running the game. There's no game engine, nothing like that. It's just an AI model generating frames of Doom. And you can play it. Like the first level, I think. And I'm just like, why is this? What? Like one of the researchers makes the argument that this is sort of like not that it's going to replace game engines, but that for people who are inexperienced with coding, it could be a useful tool for a proof of concept for a game without them having to get into coding in a game engine of some sort. Basically, where you can just like sort of feed it the model and a description of the game that you want to play, and it will just make up what that game might look like in real time. Like it generates the images fast enough that you get like 30 FPS and you can play it. Freaking wild.
Yeah.
This is insane. Once again, I don't think that this is actually solving any problems. AI seems to be incapable of solving problems. But
it's a good toy.
Wow, is this ever a really weird thing? So yes, now you can look at the inside of an artificial intelligence model's head as it hallucinates frames from the game Doom. And where are we What is life? I don't get it.
Huh. Yep. I don't know how to move on from that, but
I don't think any of us do.
Well, I think that's the end of the episode, unless Landon's got one more thing.
No, I don't.
What a way to end that episode right there.
Yep.
Food for thought there for you, listener. But if you have any questions or anything, you can get a hold of us on our social media platforms. You can also get a hold of us at callingallplatforms.com. You can take a look at, as Caleb did earlier, plug his YouTube channel on reviews that he's done or anything there. You can take a look at YouTube at our channel. All right, dear listener, have a good week.
Bye-bye.
See ya.
Calling All Platforms is a production of Supporter Sound Studios. To learn more about how you can support the podcast, go to www.patreon.com/callingallplatforms.